Hey, welcome back everyone. It is time for another red hot cover call video. Well, hey, look, today we're going to talk about how I use covered calls and cash secure puts to generate cash flow. I also buy dividend paying funds because, unlike most of you, I would love to have passive income while I live in retirement. Here's the deal. So many high-yielding dividend-paying funds are wrecking people. They're absolutely wrecking their account. We can look at any number of the many that have literally wrecked people. They'll tell you that, oh, with return of capital, I'm making all this money. The reality is, in retirement, you have to spend that money. You cannot drip invest in retirement. You can sit back and try to convince yourself that you can. Oh, I take 70% and drip invest and take 30% and live. Well, you better have a very large portfolio to be doing that. The reality is most of you out there are being torched by things like this. That's Alti. Remember when Alti was all the rage on YouTube talking about how you can retire on Alti? Well, had you done that right around this point, remember Alti was $8? I did a video where I talked about what if you had $1 million in Alti? And I'll tell you what, man, everybody loved it. Oh, I'm making all this money. Look at this. You would have been destroyed. And I'll tell you what, that is a horrible investment. Let's take a look at Misty. Misty is a fan favorite. I was involved with Misty back at 26. I'll tell you what, collected all these fat dividends, made $1,000 for this entire time. Had to sell at a loss. I got out at like 17. Luckily, because look at this. I end up getting out in and around 17. Look at this. All those bag holders there. So, NAV erosion is a big problem. I'll tell you what, even when you look at one of my favorites, I actually own YMAX, pays me about $300 a week. Look at this. I mean, this is incredible. This is supposed to be a pretty stable investment, right? You have about 20 to 25 of YieldMax single stock ETFs in here. Look what happens. This is incredible. That's 14 right there. That's a 14 spot. I have seen this thing go from 18 straight down to 10. You're losing 80% of your money. But they'll tell you, oh, look at that total return. Total return. You know what? If you drip invest, that's beautiful. But you're not drip investing in retirement. I need to be the man in the mirror for you. Because if you're in retirement, you have to turn off drip. And when you turn off drip, this is what you get. You get a literal drip of your portfolio just dying on the vine. Look, we can even look at some of these others. This is incredible. Even my favorite YMAG. Do you know YMAG does not NAV erode? I'll tell you right now, I want you to research YMAG. It does not NAV erode. Outside of the recent pullback, that's the entire stock market pullback. YMAG does not NAV erode. You could pull up many charts showing that if you took the dividends and spent them in retirement, YMAG is trading sideways, just like what you see right there. I love YMAG. I need to get out of YMAX and get more in YMAG. Now you say, hey, look, let's buy all these leveraged ETFs. Everybody loves the leveraged ETFs. Let's take a look at one of the favorites, the fan favorites right now. I have about 400 shares of WPay. This is incredible. What's happening is you're going to see more and more leveraged ETFs. And leverage works in an up market, a sideways market. But what happens when we get slammed? Right now, the S&P 500 is down 4.4%, and everybody is running for the door. Everybody thinks the house is burning. The S&P 500 is literally down 4.4%, and everybody thinks the house is burning. This is incredible. This is literally where we're at. The numbers are so big, people think the house is burning when the S&P 500 is down 4.4%. But hey, look, I digress. Here's WPay. This, I'll tell you what, man, this one here, I have 400 shares. and I'm collecting about $300 a week, and I'm going to let this roll. But you know what? It's dividends. 39 cents, 57 cents, 56 cents, 62 cents. They're declining. NAV erosion is starting to happen. Now you'll say, hey, this is a leveraged ETF. It uses swaps and there's no NAV. Look, what I'm going to tell you is this. Let's take a look at one of my favorites. This is METW. This is Roundhill's weekly pay leveraged ETF. Now, look, I'm in this in and around 43. I'm a sucker that bought this at 43. Take a look at this bad boy. See, this is a perfect example. You get all this money given back to you. Look, there is no dividend here. They are literally handing you your money back. This is not how it should be. Like, this is not. Look at that screen. Look at that screen. Let me grab the back of your collar and say, look at that screen. We need to get away from this garbage, whether it's Roundhill, Defiance, or YieldMax. Look, I'll tell you what, I do invest in passive income. I buy closed-end funds and the indexes when it comes to high-yield dividend-paying funds. XDTE is a rock when you look at its NAV erosion. It's not really there. I love SPY-T, QQQT. I do like QQQY. That's been pretty steady. That's a Defiance product that most people don't like, but I like it. RDTE is rock, man. Look, we need to be in indexes and get rid of this single stock garbage. And I'll tell you what, I got to go back to Misty here. There's a lot of you Misty Mafia still out there. You don't want to say nothing in the comments because back when I did the video in February saying that NAV erosion has hit Misty, everybody in the comments was ripping me saying I didn't know the trade. Well, you know what? We didn't know the trade. Apparently, we didn't know the trade that this sucker was going to go from 26 all the way down to $7.65. It's rallied to $8.29. This thing will never see $10 again. I'll tell you what, Misty is nothing more than a sinking ship. But hey, look, that's my opinion. That is my opinion. I've lost incredible amounts of money with YieldMax, Defiance, and Roundhill products. Hey, nobody is going to convince me that there is a better way to generate cash flow. So here is the part of the video you need to be watching. Okay? If your NAV erosion crap is burning your portfolio to the ground, now's the moment you need to listen. I'm going to show you a trade. In my last video, I'm going to show you a trade that I have put on. It's with a leveraged ETF to the China large cap retailers. Now, I use leveraged ETFs to all the indexes. I know everybody's in the keyboard. Oh, he uses leveraged ETFs. Oh, my Lord. And he's running to the door. What you need to understand is I've been doing this for over 10 years. Leveraged ETFs to the indexes are no different than the actual index. And if you're sitting there saying they are, the only argument you have is that volatility is much more. It's obviously 3x more. Imagine SPY. Everybody trades SPY. People around the globe trade SPY for income. Well, I trade UPRO, the 3x leveraged ETF to SPY. There's no difference. Outside of a leveraged ETF has to reboot every day, recalibrate, and they say it's a depreciating asset. But when we write covered calls, we're picking fixed strike prices for which they'll take our shares. So that whole argument that we lose money with leveraged ETFs, just throw it out at the door. I've been trading these things for 10 years. You are wrong. So, with all that said, volatility does not equal risk. Look, if you're going to invest in the SPY and I'm going to invest in UPRO, what's the difference outside of UPRO has 3x the volatility? Come on now, type it in the comments because you are wrong. I've been trading these things for 10 years, making incredible amounts of money. In fact, this year I just crossed the $400,000 club, writing covered calls and selling cash secured puts. Hey, look, at the end of the day, if you're not using leveraged ETFs and you're making that kind of money, I tip my hat to you. But you know what? We got to use a little leverage because we got to amplify our covered call and cash secure put profits. Right? If I'm going to use a SPY, I got to have a lot of money. It's like a $630 stock. I'm not going to use the SPY. I'll use UPRO because UPRO is the SPY 3x leverage. Now, let's talk about yen. Before I show you all the money I've made with my current yen shares, and yes, for all of those leveraged ETF scaredy cats and ones that'll type in the comments, oh, he's using leverage. Look, you need to sit on the bench and just follow the leader. Now let's take a look at yen, because I absolutely love yen. All of the large cap China retailers have reported, and I'll tell you what, they're going higher. Yen is an ETF that has 10 or more of those. We're talking Alibaba, JD.com, so on. So yen is going to move 3x leverage. Take a look at this. This is an incredible trading range right here. We're going to go ahead and get involved anywhere right here. And that's what we've done. Oh, what's that big old strike right there? Well, that's when Trump and the Chinese leader were going to go to war recently with tariffs. Of course, that didn't happen. So look what happens. Yen pops. Now, yen is in this beautiful trading range. Been telling the members we're going to use yen, and we have been using yen. Look, in the description below, if you want real selling premium trades, get rid of the NAV eroding dividend crap. Look, use covered calls and cash secured puts to generate a premium. Take that premium and buy good paying, dividend-paying funds like XDTE, SPY-T, QQQT. That's what you want to do. See, the problem is we get seduced into buying that crap that has literally fallen 90%. Look, you say to yourself, I'm at the 9 to 5, I just don't have the money to do it. You need to learn how to write covered calls. You learn how to write covered calls and sell puts, you got the cash. I'm going to show you right now. I literally have a position in yen, 51.50. So when the stock's trading for in and around 51.50, see how it's much higher right now? I took on a position. Took on two positions. 1,500 shares at one strike price and 1,500 shares at another. We started writing covered calls. I consolidated everything down to where I have 3,000 shares at 51.50. Now you're saying to yourself, John, it's trading for 46. You have to be feeling like you're kicked in the nads. Well, of course, that's not the case because we write covered calls. So even if the buy and hold investor's in at 51.50 and he feels like he's literally losing his ass, we don't. We are writing covered calls against those shares, and I'm going to show you right now what we've done. Are you ready? Because what I'm about to show you is this. Down here is all of the trades I've done with those shares. So the buy and hold investor has bought the shares at 51.50, and so have I. Now the buy and hold investor is sitting there and the stock's ebbing and flowing and he hopes it goes higher. Well, now it's trading for 46 and he's literally holding on to the hope rope. You know the hope rope. That's the one most of you are holding with all these NAV eroding pieces of crap. The hope rope. Now, I don't have the hope rope. Why? Because we write covered calls against the shares we own. I own yen, just like the buy and hold investor. And yen right now is trading down. But we're writing covered calls against our shares. Take a look at this. And if you don't know what covered calls are or cash secure puts are, you really need to learn. That's why I want you to become a member. In the description below, I teach you how to be a selling premium warrior kicking ass like we are. Now, you get to see all of my trades. You get to see exclusive videos you don't see on YouTube. But most important, you get to see a professional stock trader trade his retirement. That's right, I retired when I was 55. You know how I retired at 55? Doing what you're seeing on screen. Whether you believe me or not, whether you think I'm just somebody shilling another product, well, you know what? Hey, say what you want to say. I'm just going to delete you from the comments anyway because many people just do not believe. They've been burnt so much. And you know what? I'll tell you what, my heart goes out to you if you spent money and got burnt by some financial guru. Filling you up with dreams. I don't fill you up with dreams. All I do is show you my trades. We talk about it. So maybe you learn something. You take a peek over my shoulder. That's it. I show you all of my trades. I'm not a trade alert system. I show you the trades I do for myself and my kids in retirement. So if you want to be a part of that and you want to generate income using covered calls and cash secure puts, get your 1 free month offer in the description. Now look, here's yen. Again, like I told you, we bought yen. Yen is down. Everybody's feeling the crunch. But look, we have generated what's incredible. If you don't actually see those numbers, let me help you with those numbers here. These numbers are $17,445 if you include the current trade I have. And we're using our cost basis to get out. We're writing covered calls. We buy the shares at $51.50 and we give somebody the right, but not the obligation, to take our shares from us at $51.50. They pay us a premium for that. And that's what we do. Writing covered calls, selling cash secured puts is the golden goose of investing. All of that $17,000 I can take and I can put into my cost basis, lowering my cost basis on yen if I want, which I don't, or I buy great dividend-paying funds like XDTE, QDTE, SPYT, so on. I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, when we write covered calls and sell puts, it's a cash printing machine. This doesn't end. I'll tell you what, you're sitting there hopeless. Let me show you what I've done here this year. This is incredible. This is all real. Right now, that's my number. With covered call writing and cash secure put selling and dividend investing, look at this, $548,000. I'll tell you what, anybody in your Discord making that much? Anybody you're following make that much? If you're not and you want to be a part of it, in the description below, get your 1 free month offer. Take a look at this. I crossed the $400,000 mark for the first time this year with covered calls only. Covered calls only. I'm literally making in this market that is absolutely tanking. Let's take a look. You say to yourself, oh, it's not tanking. Look at that. That's tanking. Look, all you're doing with the dividend funds is this. You're literally giving them your money and the thing keeps NAV eroding and you literally hope 3 years down the road, you have free shares wherever they're priced. And I'll tell you what, if you thought something like Misty was going to hold up, that is the hope rope right there. Don't hold the hope rope. What I want you to do is learn how to write covered calls, sell puts, and do this. Tell you what, at the end of the day, I started with one stock. Literally started with one stock. And that was back in 2016. And what I did is I started generating cash flow every single month. And what we did is we took that cash flow and we bought dividend-paying funds. Now, over the years, I've learned that which ones that I want to buy, right? I mean, I bought the Misties, I bought the Teslas, I bought the Conies. I sold all of that crap. Now what we do is we buy those dividend-paying funds that are index-based, much like how I trade the stock market with covered calls and puts. We use leveraged ETF to the indexes and sectors. And if we're going to use a stock, we're going to use the Mag 7 minus a couple. Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Nvidia, so on. So what I want you to do, if you want to learn how to generate cash flow like I do, and then take that cash flow, live the good life, live in retirement, or you take that cash flow and buy dividend-paying funds like XDTE, I need you to become a member. Hey, look, we're getting towards the end of the year. The market is fluctuating. I know you're feeling it out there because even I am. I have some NAV eroding dividend-paying funds myself. But you know what? We work through it because we take all of this covered call premium and we buy into these. And what we do is we reduce our cost basis. I know a lot of you out there say, well, why do you still invest? Look, we still invest in dividend-paying funds because it's passive income. That's how the wealthy think. They take their hard work, take those profits, and put it into a passive investment. The problem is most people have put it in the trust of some of these companies, and they've wrecked us. They've absolutely wrecked us. Stop being wrecked. And what I want you to do is learn how to write covered calls. I want you to follow me. If anything, you get to see my world and you get to see how a professional stock trader works. Selling premium, generating that golden egg of profit, and then we buy dividend-paying funds that don't NAV erode. Hey, look, in the description below, I want you to get your 1 free month offer to see what we're doing at the membership. I put on a trade today, and I put on over 60 trades in October. And November looks to be a very similar month. How incredible is that to say that you made $43,000? That's money on the table. That's not NAV eroding. That's literally putting on a trade and working the trade like yin, and we get out at our cost basis. Somebody's going to take my shares at $51.50. I just have to have patience. And when I do, $17,000 is on the table. That's what we've been doing all year. We've been doing that now for 10 years. Hey, look, be safe, be healthy, most important, be lucky. Until next time, may all your covered calls be profitable.